Good morning. Good morning. It is 5 a.m. where I am. And I want to say good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining me today, whether you're watching live or on the replay. Happy Tuesday. I am Lachelle, also known as America's Supermom, and I am excited to be here with you today. This is a short segment on collections and connections. I just love the ring of that, right? There's something about alliteration, but I am excited to be here with you this morning. I know it's early. My kids are out of school, and that means no school runs almost. I have a son who is doing football camp and a daughter who is doing an enrichment program just for a week over the summer. So I do have to take them to school, and I have jury duty all in one week. So it's a little crazy over here. And the morning is when it is super quiet. The kids are asleep, they stay up late, and so they are not thinking about being up at 5 a.m. in the morning. So, this is a perfect time for me to go live, to think, and be able to share a lot of my insights. So, I thought collections and connections because I have so many collections. I collect a lot of things. As I was thinking about this show, I was thinking, it really started out really highlighting books. And so I have three that I'm going to highlight today. But I thought, oh my gosh, I love to read. I have books everywhere, okay, in pretty much every room of our house. And everybody doesn't see the value in them. But I think it stems back from me being an only child. I love to read, Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, Judy Blume, excuse me. Those were some of the ones that really captivated me and kept me going. But I just love them, right? I don't know if it's just the ability to imagine, take yourself somewhere else, what that's about, but I love books. But as I pondered this, I thought, well, I have a lot of collections because I collect coin banks, I collect hats, right? I collect scarves, I collect like the little individual picture frame messages, that can stand up and say, hello, beautiful, or it's going to be a great day. I collect pillows. I collect aprons, right? So the list just kept going and going, all these different things that I find myself collecting. But that might be for another day. So, first, I want to start off with a quote because this is something that I love. I love quotes, they really help me get grounded, focus on whatever it is that I am going to do for the day, positivity, just intentional. So, the first quote is, whatever you are, try to be a good one. This is by William Makepeace Thackeray. And the only change I would make to that, and this is another thing. So I used to get these quotes and I write them down and be like, oh my gosh, that's so profound, which I still do because people say things that really raise my eyebrows or just seep right to my heart, soul, really just stop me in my tracks. So now what I do is I add a question mark to the end of the quote because a lot of times we'll hear a quote or some saying that gets our attention and we believe it as factual, right? So there's this really famous term in business about imposter syndrome. And so a lot of people find this is a good conversation uh, discussion. So one day I was just thinking, I listen also to words that just kind of rub me the wrong way. Why is that? Right? Because there was a time that I didn't listen to anything. I was on autopilot, numb, going through depression, but that's another story. We're not here for that. But anyway, now I'm so present that certain things just kind of get my attention. So when I would hear this imposter syndrome, it just would rub me the wrong way. So I looked up the word imposter and it means to intentionally deceive someone. So I thought, I'm not using that word anymore because that just doesn't apply to me. So as a result of not using the word, it really helped me to explore, am I doing that in my business or personal life and things like that? And so as you begin to really study words and groups of words, you learn a lot about yourself. Is this a core value of yours? Are you going around deceiving people? So, needless to say, I'm done with imposter syndrome. So, this is something I'm not distracted by anymore. So, when I have people have conversations about it, I'm not in that conversation because the energy is just not right for me. It's something that is not even in my core values. Now, if you have a conversation about how to overcome fear, then I could be in that conversation, right? Because I had fear before I became the mother of 15 children. Each child that was born, okay, I was a little fearful. You finding out, oh my gosh, childbirth is the closest thing to death. And I had my kids natural, 11 of them. Two of them I had a C section, and the other two are my bonus children, stepchildren. So, back to this quote, whatever you are, try to be a good one. I think it's a great concept that they're saying. But anyway, so what I'm saying is when you get these quotes, put a question mark behind it to ask yourself, is this factual or is this someone's opinion? Now, this is huge because a lot of times we'll go off and just because we heard it, it's true, right? It's a fact, but we don't have any data points to prove that. So you want to put a question mark and think about, how does this make me feel? Do I agree with it? Is this really serving me? Right? So this quote, whatever you are, try to be a good one. The only thing I would do is take out the word try. So whatever you are, be a good one. Well, I would take try to out because trying is not really being committed to something, right? So if I say, well, I'm going to try to get up at 5 o'clock and get on LinkedIn and YouTube, right? That's not very committed, right? Anything could happen. Well, it's raining outside. I really don't want to be on today. Or in my case, where are my glasses? I couldn't find my glasses. Now, I wear contacts, but I have the glasses that I wear on a regular basis are the computer glasses. And I'm telling you, if you don't have any of those, you should. I don't have headaches. I don't have eye strain. A lot of that is avoided because I wear those all the time when I'm on the computer or doing things on my phone, and it really helps. I mean, I just don't have any eye strain. Whereas before I was on these videos and, just on social media so much that, my eyes would hurt. I would have headaches, just a number of things. But get yourself some computer glasses if you're on the computer all the time. So, anyway, we are going to dive into today's topic of collections, and it is 3 books that I want to highlight. And these books are books that I was a part of, and I just think that it is an opportunity for people to get out of their own head about not feeling like they have value enough to have their own books, right? So these are books that are mine, that I am contributors to. And so I want to be able to highlight the other people who have helped to shape me as an author. Okay, so the first one this is not the first book. I've been in 5 collaborations, and so this is number 3 of the 5. So this book is Inspirational Women of the World, Don Evans and Tracy Smolinski. Now, this is a story of 20 entrepreneurs or business women um, all over the world. So I was the only contributor from the United States. These are the contributing authors. I'll let you guys see that, right? And I was the only one from the United States. But how this book started, because a lot of people feel like, oh, I don't really have anything to write about. I mean, you know, sometimes even thinking of yourself as an author can be kind of far out, right? And so I challenge you to think about, what do you want to leave behind for other business owners? Or what do you want to leave behind for your daughters or sons or people in your family, right? It may not be a business book, or maybe it's a cookbook, right? Maybe you have recipes that you want to leave to other people uh, in your family, right? In your community, your neighborhood. Maybe there are, they've got this faceless um, YouTube. I don't know if it's YouTube, Instagram, but let's just say it's YouTube channel. 5-minute crafts. The people are not even showing their face. They're just highlighting whatever it is that they're doing, and they've got like 7 million subscribers. Okay. So you don't even have to have your face, right? It could be anything that you want to share. Maybe you've got some creative games for kids, right? So the list can go on and on. But anyway, back to the book. This book, all these things can be found on my Amazon store. So I do have an Amazon store, so you can find them there, and I'll put the link in here afterwards if I remember. No, seriously, I have to make notes because I get on here, I'm talking to myself, y'all. And you're just listening to me talk to myself, right? And I forget. I move on to the next thing, like I have laundry that I'm going to try to get done. I have jury duty this morning. So, a number of things going on. But anyway, this book was released during the pandemic. So the pandemic was started out here in the US around March 13th, I believe was the day here in Georgia, where everything shut down. And this book was released in November. And we were a part of a Facebook group. So we met on Fridays in the Facebook group. And so every time we met, we would, you know, get to know each other, right? So it's virtual, we're on Zoom, in the Facebook group. Everybody bring their favorite beverage or whatever. And so we would get together, and everybody's story was so inspiring. We're like, oh my goodness, this is amazing, the things that you have overcome and everything, right? And so it was a few weeks in that we just said, we should write a book. Now the group just kept growing. People were inspired. So we only were able to write the book with 20 people. But since then, I think we've released other versions. And the power of being vulnerable simply in a Facebook group. And as a result, we created a book that now the proceeds of this book goes to helping entrepreneurs in Morocco, entrepreneur women. And they are working to actually build a brick and mortar to help a lot of the women entrepreneurs in Morocco. And so if you want to be a part of something bigger, this is the book for you, Inspirational Women of the World. So this was very important to me because, let's see, I think I'm in chapter 10 in this. Yes. So it talks about my life mask free, right? That's my chapter. And I say mask free because, I wore so many masks, right? Wore so many masks during my time of depression. I mean, it was 13 years. I didn't even realize that I was depressed. Okay. So I was really um, out here just on autopilot, not knowing who I was, and not really having time for it. I was so busy people pleasing, fear of rejection, all these other things that I didn't even realize that I was depressed. So, long story short, each time I went to the hospital, my husband sought intervention because he kept seeing some things that just weren't quite right, like not sleeping, in my own zone most of the time because I was not getting enough rest. I was up burning the candle at both ends on a regular basis. And so these were cycles, right? It started off where it would be one thing that might be a clue, but over time, it turned into a pattern. These things just kept happening. So I would get home from the hospital, all is good. We make modifications on what we've got going on at home. Eventually, those same habits just creep back up. And if you're not careful, they overtake you and you're back to doing the same thing over and over again. Insanity. Okay. So I think one of the things that I will share is that in this book, I talk about how I was able to remove the mask, right? From, because I would just put on a different mask covering up some of the things that weren't going well for me. Because I was a pastor's wife, I was an officer's wife. My husband was an officer in the military. Um, in the community, PTA, class mom, soccer mom. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? So I'm just going to read this one little excerpt out of here. After many internal dialogues based on many questions, I believe that I could sum up on how I overcame this situation in 5 steps: awareness, personal accountability, change begins with me, self knowledge, and sharing my story with others. What does a normal life look like? And would I be able to maintain it once I achieved it? So, if you want to know more about that, that's in Inspirational Women of the World. Okay. Um, but that was to inspire you to realize that if you have a group of people that really inspire you, get together, write a book. It doesn't have to be something long. It's just something that you could leave for other people that can really be inspired by your story. I know for me, a lot of people think, oh my gosh, 15 kids, I can't, how do you do anything? Right. So if I'm able to leave something, a footprint behind me, that can be very inspiring for people, because people get inspired that I do live videos, right? That's not even including the fact that I have a book, or that I have coaching programs, or, TV series, all this kind of stuff. All right. So the second book, Do You Want to Be Whole? 7 Steps to Living Mask Free. Okay. Now, this book I'm really excited about, because if you look at the bottom, there is a soundtrack that's included. 2 of my kids have created some music that goes with this book. So, what you do is you click the QR code, and I believe it's 6 songs that are on there. So, you can have music that goes with this. Now, this is really a self guided journal. So I go over the 7 steps, and each of the 7 steps, I talk about my journey, and then I ask you pertinent questions so that you can learn on your own. And then each um, step also has a quote at the beginning, right? So step 5 is sharing my story. Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. That's by Mike Tyson, right? So when we think about planning, right, with your story, everybody wants to have the fairy tale. That really had me for a lot of time. I thought, oh, I'm going to get married, have the, 2 kids, a dog and a cat, white picket fence, right? This type of thing. And it doesn't end up that way, right? And so if you're chasing perfection, you're never going to find it. It's impossible. And so you have to learn to deal with reality. So that is my thing. And I think, when you think that you are, for me, I was a high achiever, right? So I was used to setting goals and obtaining them, because it was my personal focus. I just had to worry about me, when it came to my academics. I didn't have to worry about teaching anybody else. I didn't have to worry about a lot of things. I was an only child. Never really realized this until I had kids, right? Because it's like, why are they not listening? Why are they trying to do their own thing instead of listening to me. Don't they know I'm the mother, right? So craziness, same stuff that my mom went through and her mom, and the list goes on and on. But, I had to learn that, you can self manage yourself. But one, you have to interact with other people. So you have to communicate. You have to be an example and not just think that you're going to say stuff to people and they're just going to follow, like little robots. It just doesn't happen. So, anyway, just learning that journey about my story, being open enough to share that with other people because we can really drive ourselves crazy by having unrealistic expectations, right? And that is going to be the quickest way to get us somewhere where we don't want to be. So, in this book, I'm going to read, this is my first poem that I wrote. So, during this time of getting this book together, I was doing a study by Julia Cameron called, that's another book that I'm mentioning, um, The Artist's Way. And so it started out where you're doing these morning pages. So you get up, you write 3 pages, just cold turkey, whatever. I need to go to the store, or, this jury duty is kind of frustrating, or I need to remodel my office, or, whatever comes to mind. So you just write 3 pages, you go outside, you do some things, take a morning walk, um, some good things. Have an artist date with yourself, somewhere you go by yourself, no phone or anything like that, and just enjoy, um, being in nature, or being in your own company, stuff like that. Well, anyway, I was doing these morning pages, and this was an inspired poem. I just wrote it. It was a download. I was like, oh my goodness. So, anyway, so this is Dear Selfish. I pray that one day you will join others in the world rather than expecting them to revolve around you. How can I be so bold to call you selfish? Great question, because selfish was me. It is easy to recognize what is familiar and was a part of me. Many of us don't know what we don't know, but what we do know, we recognize clearly. How do I transform my selfish ways, you ask? I had to learn to love myself before I could truly love others. What is love? There are thousands of definitions, but the one I have chosen was taught to me by my father. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. 1 Corinthians 13:4 and 5. Isn't that a great definition of love? I mean, a lot of that, I'm still a work in progress. But being patient, kind, not envying, not boasting, not prideful, not disrespecting others, not being self motivated, not angry, and no judgment, right? Not keeping record of right or wrongs. That's amazing. So that's a little side note. Okay, so 1 Corinthians 13:4 through 5. I now see that I have allowed love to fill my heart, and now there is less room for judgment, doubt, fear, jealousy, or hate. Life is good, and I now choose to see the good rather than the bad. So that was a download. That was something that I was writing during that time. And I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I wrote that. So that definitely was included in the book. All right. So I only have 6 minutes left, but all these books you can find on my Amazon store. So this last one is Now What? And it is an international bestseller. Um, I think some of those other ones are too, but I just didn't get the ribbon. But this is a hardback. So we have a hardback and a paperback of this book. But this was compiled by Misty Lee. So for those of you who are following me, Misty Lee is one of my co-hosts on Bold Voices. So I have a live stream TV series, and Misty and Rochelle Harlington are power partners of mine because they were guests on season 2 of my live stream series, Real Life Without Excuses. And now we have a power partnership for 12 months. So we are like 7 months into that partnership. And so we decided to have a panel that we would do weekly with guests and opportunity for people to network, get connected. We take one question and we ask it through an organic connection with people who join the show, and they may not have met each other or know each other. So we just have a conversation around the topic. So as a result, we have this show that comes on weekly. We have a community that spiraled into that. We have a men's panel that spiraled because of that. And we also have this international best-selling book. So this was something that wasn't even on my list of goals for 2023. We released this book in March. I believe it was the 23rd, and it was international best-selling. And I believe we have 40 authors in this book. And let me see if I can get to my section. I should have had this together before. Okay. But here's the last little part of my section. But my section is titled Voice in a Village. Okay. Now, for me, the rough draft was day 1. Let me see. So I'll read this little part. This morning is day 1 of the new Lachelle Atkins, wife of Pastor Jerome Atkins and mother of 15 children. Confidence in my identity and sharing my voice with the world. This is on the heels of my 3rd release from a behavioral hospital from a 13-year struggle with depression. However, this has been a pattern for some time. Today, I woke up to the fact that I do not want this pattern, which no longer serves me. Okay. So if you want to hear more about how did I get fed up with the pattern, what did I do differently, you can get the book, okay, on my Amazon store. So those were the 3 books that I wanted to talk about when I talk about collections. And the quote, whatever you are, William says, try to be a good one. But I say, whatever you are, be a good one, right? We have to learn to be committed. The authors in these books, they had to be committed to their story. They had to be committed to sharing. They just had to do it, right? And a lot of times we second guess ourselves. We start thinking back about the past when we were a lot less mature, a lot less knowledgeable. And so we hold ourselves to the wrong standard, right? So if I say, oh, I want to write a book, and I compare myself to someone who has written more than one book, I'm doing myself a disservice because I am comparing my beginning to someone else's middle, right? I'm not comparing us like being on an even playing field. I'm looking at all the things they've accomplished, and I'm expecting myself to be at their level when I'm just getting started. So a lot of times we do this and it's self-sabotaging ourselves because we are focusing on the fear or the negative thoughts. And so we begin to compare ourselves with people that aren't even in our league to justify the negative thought, because what you think about or have the intention for, you kind of bring about, right? So if you want to bring about positivity, you need to surround yourself with positivity. If you want to be mindful of overcoming, then you need to be around people that have overcome, right? So understanding that mastery and beginning are not on the same level, right? And we have written, I've written 5 books and I'm still not at mastery. But the point is, I'm not at step 1 either. But a lot of times we will take our step 1 and measure it to someone else's step 57, right? So think about that when you're thinking about your goals and aspirations, because you can do anything you want. You can be good. You can try, and you can I don't even want to say try, you can just do, right? You just do it. That's what Nike says. So just get out there, do it, and you can refine it along your journey. How many apps start out with them being a certain way, but then they update in the middle of the night? Whether it's on your computer, your cell phone, people have updates, people refine. You buy a house and you remodel it, right? Or you renovate your kitchen, or you change your flooring, or you paint your walls. Updates happen all the time. So just think, done is the goal, not perfection. Done is the goal, not perfection. So if we think about just getting it done, then we can refine it and continue to make it better over time. That is all that I have for today. I want to thank those of you that have joined me. I'm not the best at multitasking, so there are times that I see you guys joining me, and I'm so excited for that. And then I get distracted, right? People make comments, and I'm off in another conversation, and I'm trying to keep this at 30 minutes. But I want to thank Zahar, Lady Patience, and Asif for joining me. Thank you guys so much. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Have an amazing day, and I will see you later. Bye for now.